And they're off and running on the Krueger Show. Hope everybody's having a great day. It is July the 16th, 10 minutes after 7 on the West Coast. That means 10 minutes after 10 on the East Coast. And it doesn't matter what part of the country you're in, whether you're in San Francisco or New York, whether you're in Chicago or Austin, Texas. The reality is the reality, and that is Brandon Aiyuk has asked for a trade in every time zone. That's right, in every time zone. But anyway, we get it rolling. And, of course, we're brought to you by Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California. Check them out. They're in Emeryville. They're in Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. or until they run out. Go say hi to Damon and Mary. Get some brisket chili. Tell them the Krug sent you. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Check that link in the description. Use the promo code Krug, K-R-U-E-G, and they'll match you up to your first 100. And then let's not forget our good friends at Sharp Corner Sports Cards and Collectibles. They are an incredible little company for sure. If you're a sports cards and collectible fan, check them out. They're at 205 Cypress Avenue in Pacific Grove. Our good friend Anthony Catania. Give him a call at 831-521-5264 for all your sports cards and collectible needs. And thanks to all the proud sponsors of the Krug Show. Raj, we've been talking Aiyuk this, Aiyuk that. You know, some of the people were like, I can't handle it anymore. No more Aiyuk. No, I can't deal with it anymore. I can't. You guys can't have this conversation anymore. This year, the Aiyuk conversation is last year's. Is Trey Lance going to be traded? I think there's a chance Trey Lance can be traded. Ding, 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 ding. Trey Lance was traded. This year's topic, Brandon Aiyuk, what's going on? Is he going to sign? Is it, a lot of people, nothing to see here. This is all going to get done when it gets done. You with your hand wringing, Krug with your trades. You guys are just fantasizing about all this. This is all for clicks. This is all for this. There's nothing going on here. This is just Krug and his content creators with their clicks. Well, guess what? I guess you were wrong. I guess there was some substance to the old Brandon Aiyuk wanted out story. And I now seem somewhat vindicated for how much coverage we have all given this topic. And believe me, all of you guys, I'm shoulder to shoulder with you. As tired as you are of hearing about the Aiyuk extension, non-extension, trade, non-trade, blah, 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 blah. Raj and I are equally tired about talking about this, and we are dying to have training camp start like today. But it doesn't start for today. The rookies reported it doesn't really start for another week, so we still have another week to fool around. But the big story of the day is Brandon Aiyuk has demanded a trade from the 49ers. And Raj, this is a huge story any way you slice it. Mike Garafolo of the NFL Network, credit Garafolo. He was the guy. It wasn't Schefter. It wasn't Rappaport. It wasn't Pelissaro. It was Garafolo. And he had it earlier today. Niners All-Pro wide receiver Brandon Aiyuk has officially requested a trade after an offseason of unsuccessful attempts to reach a mutual agreement on a contract extension. Despite a recent meeting, the Niners have not been willing to engage in negotiations since May, so Aiyuk has respectfully asked out. And we had somebody sum it up on Twitter. Brandon Aiyuk, I want to be traded. 49ers. That's cute. See you at camp. And in the midst of this, Josina Anderson has reported that the Patriots recently reached out to the 49ers about a potential trade for Aiyuk. The Patriots badly need a receiver. They were also told that Aiyuk was not available. And the Patriots, of course, used their second-round pick to draft Jalen Polk. They also took Javon Baker out of Central Florida in the draft. They made a big push for Cal Ridley. They added KJ Osborne in free agency. They also have Juju Smith-Schuster, Demario Douglas from Liberty, who's a really good underrated little receiver there. They also have former second-round pick Tyquan Thornton, Jalen Rager, the former Eagle #1 pick, and they re-signed Kendrick Bourne. So they got a bunch of guys, but nobody really good. I mean, that's basically it. I mean, I like Javon Baker. I love Demario Douglas. I mean, I would take Demario Douglas, but the rest of their guys are kind of donkeys. So, you know, they don't have a whole lot. But she was told, or they were told, she reports, that the Niners said he's not available. So what do you make of the story of the day that Aiyuk has finally put it out there that he wants to be traded, and the 49ers have countered by saying they have no interest in trading Brandon Aiyuk? Where is this going?
Yeah, a lot to digest. That was definitely breaking news today. But when I first saw it, I wasn't necessarily surprised that Brandon Aiyuk requested a trade. I felt like this was where it was trending months ago. I think it was the thing I was surprised of. Training camp starts next week, Larry, and he does it now. Like, this was, to me, the ultimate like sign of desperation for Brandon Aiyuk, because in the reports with Garofalo, he says, you know, they had failed attempts to reach an extension. We know this is all publicized. He went on the Pivot podcast. He broke all this down, blah, blah, blah. We know all the reports. Failed trade. So the fact of the matter of him requesting this now was just like, shit, I need leverage. Training camp's next week. Let me push the Niners. Let me put them in a corner. Let me put Baby in a corner and tell them I need my money. You guys aren't taking this serious. So he's really serious, saying, look, I got leverage. But the 49ers, again, they have no intentions. And they've been saying this for months. People don't listen to John Lynch when he's up there and talking. They like to make fun of him, whatever. John Lynch has said this several times. They're okay with Brandon Aiyuk playing on the 5th-year option only, and they don't get it done. They're okay with it. And that, to me and you said this for weeks. Like you said, we've talked about this ad nauseum. They might just end up playing him on his 5th-year contract. Maybe they could make an extension later in the season. Maybe they trade him later. Maybe next year they tag him. The Niners have all the leverage, and Brandon Aiyuk is like, damn it, I got all the leverage. Let me see what I can do. He should have made this trade request months ago. He had a little bit more leg to stand on.
Well, let me ask you this, because you saw the Pivot podcast, and the first part of that podcast, one of the topics that was broached is, you know, how do things stand between you and the 49ers? And he immediately said that they called him and said, we're not on the same page, and we don't see the two sides getting on the same page. So it's almost like the 49ers said to him weeks ago, the trade is the best option, because they're saying that, I mean, unless you believe that's Parag Marate just talking tough and that's negotiations. If you took the Niners at face value, what they, according to Brandon, what he told Ryan Clark in that Pivot podcast that the Niners said, which was just that they weren't on the same page. They weren't going to likely get on the same page. And that maybe the trade market was the route. And now here we are weeks later. He said, well, we have one more meeting with the 49ers. We'll see how that goes. Then he was like, he was asked about playing with Jaden Daniels. And he's like, and I got one more meeting with the Niners. If that doesn't go well, then yeah, I'd love to go play with Jaden Daniels. Then he went on to say he thinks Jaden Daniels, he can take his game to the next level with Jaden Daniels, which is kind of an insult to Purdy, but that's besides the point. But that's how it came down. Now, I thought during that Pivot podcast, when he was referencing we have one more meeting with the Niners, that because of the timing of the whole thing, that they had already had that meeting, right?
Yeah,
you know, that by the time we heard the podcast, they had already had that meeting, and the meeting went well. And so I'm thinking, oh, well, you know what? They had this meeting. The meeting went well. They're going to get on the same page. They're going to get it done. And then we hear a few days later, hey, you know, they're no closer than they were before.
Yeah.
So, and there's no question that the market shifted. We know when Jefferson got signed for 35 AAV, the market had its final shift and had its ceiling right there. And so the market shifted on the Niners a little bit in the midst of this. But I'll say this, based on what the 49ers have done, do they look like they're on the verge of giving record-setting money to Brandon Aiyuk? They've got Debo back. He's there. You've got they added Cowing, they added Pearsall, they signed Trent Taylor, they re-signed Juwan Jennings. Heck, they even re-signed McCaffrey when they didn't need to. I mean, there's several indications. They've got, if you just looked at their depth chart, like if I was an opposing personnel director, pro personnel, and I was looking at the Niner depth chart, I'd be like, guys, let's hone in on the 49ers wide receivers because they've got, 10 to 12 wide receivers, and they're only going to keep 5. That means they're going to be looking to trade guys. They're going to be looking to cut guys. We're going to, that they've got twice as many wide receivers as they need there. So that's circle 49ers wide receivers because they're going to cut. Who knows? Ronnie Bell, Danny Gray, Chris Conley, So on the surface, it definitely, like if you're telling me that the 49ers, they're saying they're not going to trade Aiyuk, but they sure are set up to make a trade. I mean, if they can say, hey, we're not trading anybody, and that's fine. We'll take them at face value. But they themselves did what you do when you want to trade a receiver. They established a surplus, and now they have the ability to trade off that surplus. So they may not be shopping Aiyuk, and they may not want to move Aiyuk, but they for whatever reason, they have established a surplus of receivers, and I can't imagine they're just going to cut all these guys.
Yeah,
right before the cut down. Really?
Yeah. So it goes a couple of ways. So we said this about running backs too, right? Like they might trade a running back depending on, because if you cut them, you get nothing. So they've done a good job. They've set themselves up. I don't think they have the intention of trade. They want Aiyuk. They've been saying they want to keep him. Obviously, they love him. They love, what he can do with Brock Purdy. They know how good he is. He's important to this team. Like, let's cut the shit and let's keep it honest and say, like, there's people out there say, oh, he's not important to this team. He's important to this team. Whether you like to hear it or not, he's important to this team. Now, I know he could be a top flight wide receiver one anywhere else, and he can get 150 targets, and that's the thing. The Niners, they know they have this very effective receiver, very efficient, 31st in targets, and he got 7th in receiving yards. So they know how good he is. So it's not like they don't want him, Larry. But the thing is, they've always said that they don't need to pay him his extension this year. They can figure it out because of the 5th-year option, and next year the franchise tag. They have other players they got to pay. Brock Purdy, that's going to be something big next year. So I think, again, they did have a meeting, like was said in the reports today. And like you mentioned, there was a meeting, and obviously they said it went well. Maybe it went well in terms of they got to say everything they needed to say, get off their chest. Because I remember when that report came out, they said both parties got everything that they needed to say said. Like, they got it off their chest. I think they just needed to say, this is what we think, Brandon. And Brandon Aiyuk says, well, this is what I think. I don't think they talked about numbers because I think that 49ers have presented them what they've wanted. And again, it's a negotiation tactic on the 49ers part to stay at where they're going to stay. They're going to stay grounded. But they've been doing this for years, Larry. It's not their first rodeo. This is not their first contract extension with the big-time player, Parag, Lynch, Shanahan. They know. So they know what they got to do. Brandon Aiyuk, this is the first time he's ever had a contract extension. For him, he's still learning. So maybe he is not making the right moves. He should have been calculated a little bit more, I think. Again, Deebo Samuel requested a trade when he was in his whole process, but in April. This is July, Larry. So I think the timing was a little off. And I think that's where Brandon Aiyuk has messed up a few ways around, his whole extension. I feel like he's made some calculated risks and they haven't gone the right way. Now, if you look at the 49ers history of extending these star players, Nick Wagner brought this up. This was a really good point. So take a look at these dates. George Kittle, August 13th, 2020. That's when they made their contract extension. Fred Warner, July 21st. That was right before training camp. Deebo Samuel, July 31st. I remember that. He was on the sideline. People were like, what the heck is Deebo doing? He's going to sign. It was weird seeing him out there in street clothes. And then Nick Bosa, he didn't sign until September 6th. So the 49ers know they've been in this situation many times. They don't have to rush. They're not going to cave into the pressure. Brandon Aiyuk, I feel, is caving into the pressure. And they're saying, hey, look, you can ask for a trade. We're not going to trade you now. If they wanted to trade him, they could have. And there was reports that came out back in, the draft. People asked for him. Now in middle of the season, let's say flash forward to the middle of the season, Larry, if he gets, a team, if they get a team that says, hey, look, we're going to give you 2 first-round picks for Brandon Aiyuk, then they can do it. They can pull the trigger. So I think the Niners are going to stand pat and they're going to let Brandon Aiyuk sit there and dig himself in the grave. Because guess what? If he doesn't show up to training camp every day, $50K in fines. They can waive him.
Well, and they, last year, people say, well, if they sign him, they'll waive those fines. Okay, that's easy for you to say. Last year, throughout the entirety of the Bosa negotiations, Lynch was asked about this multiple times and was on the record multiple times as saying, hey, we're not worried about those fines, and don't worry about those fines, as if to say he won't pay those fines. And subsequently, Bosa did not. He has not made those same assertions this year about Brandon Aiyuk. So we have you can assume the Niners will waive the fines, but I don't know that that is indeed the case. And nobody has confirmed that yet. Yeah. Adam Schefter reported other teams have reached out and spoken to the Niners and have been told the Niners have no intention of trading Brandon Aiyuk, who's officially requested a trade. Niners open camp officially next week. I think the 24th is the first week workout. Yeah. By the way, today, rookies for the Niners, Bills, Bears, Chargers, Chiefs, Dolphins, Giants, and Saints all reported to training camp today. Now, there was a report earlier in the offseason that the Niners were definitely not comfortable going into that $30 million plus range for Aiyuk. And Diana Rossini notes that the Niners are aiming to pay him somewhere between $26 and $27 million per year in that range, which is even less than I think a lot of people thought, right? I mean, that 26 to 27 range would put Aiyuk below Jalen Waddle, who's the number 2 receiver in Miami. He ended up at $28 million per year, $76 million guaranteed. It would be higher than Devontae Smith, who's $25 million, $69.9 million guaranteed. And that's where they want to be. That's where they think he belongs. They're saying he belongs quite a bit beneath Justin Jefferson, and I agree. There's lots of different ways to look at this. I mean, in some ways, I think the Niners are playing super hardball with the stats because they've got a receiver that blocks downfield in the run game, and they run the ball more than any team in pro football. This guy's also been healthy. He's not a diva. He's a tough guy. He's in shape. It just seems like they're grinding him over the fact that, he doesn't have the same workload as Justin Jefferson or, some of the truly elite receivers. But you could counter by arguing, and I'm sure his agent has, that Brandon's incredibly efficient. And maybe that efficiency has even greater value than the 49ers think. This also puts a lot of, it's interesting. Once these guys all report to camp, Pearsall and Cowing are going to start showing what they've got. And Pearsall, by the way, today was placed on the non-football injury list. Yeah. And he has not taken a hit all spring. He's had that blue non-contact jersey on. The veterans report a week from today. So, they say Pearsall, it's not serious. But he hasn't taken any hits. And to me, that's the big question with Pearsall is how physical is he? Can he take hits? Yeah. But so now the question is, how's this going to play out? I mean, I would imagine. So now the 49ers, Aiyuk says I want to be traded. The Niners counter and say, we're not trading you. Then Aiyuk's going to hold out. And then what? Then what? What comes next? He's going to hold out, and what? He's either going to give in, but I think he could give in as late as like week 8 and still accrue the year. And if that's his plan, seriously, I would question the wisdom of the Niners playing this level of hardball if indeed Aiyuk is not on the roster and active until like week 8. That will be a disaster, and they're going to have to answer for that. Because that will be viewed as a major gaffe. Would you agree?
Absolutely. If they let this happen, if that is the way this goes, Larry, oh my God, this whole situation is going to be. It's going to be.
There's going to be a lot of pissed off people.
There's going to be a lot of pissed off people. People are going to make a lot of content. People are going to hate on the Niners. Like people hate on us anyways. But
Parag is going to feel the heat. Lynch is going to feel the heat. Shanahan's going to feel the heat. The Warriors are a dead story. They're they're not winning any more titles. They're dead. Maybe the Giants, the Giants, are a gigantic snooze fest. And it's like maybe they'll do something at the deadline. If they don't, I mean, the 49ers are like the number 1, 2, and 3 story in the Bay. And their pursuit of this Super Bowl is going to be absolutely a primary story. And if in the midst of this Super Bowl run, they don't have Aiyuk until like week 10 because of a holdout, people are going to pick sides. People blame Aiyuk, people blame the Niners.
But I think they know they can't let it get to that. That would be the ultimate like L. And Super Bowl team. That's why I think they got to figure this out. And again, looking at the track record, I brought up those dates because I think that's important. I think the Niners know they're not dumb. They know they're not sitting on their hands. They do things a certain way. It's tough negotiations with Prague, and I think the players, they get a little antsy. They want to get paid. They get a little, they get a little pissed. Like, I want my money, and it's you get to see what people are made of. I honestly think that not all of it is about the money with Brandon Aiyuk. You brought up the efficiency. I feel like a lot of it is just a respect thing, and maybe he doesn't feel respected with the Niners. Not just the money. I think the money definitely is an issue because the market value has increased. He wants to be like Amon-Ra, and then you got the people that say, well, he's only getting his stats because he's the fourth option. You got Kittle and Debo and CMC and all these guys around him, and it elevates his game. I get that, but you nailed it. Look, he was 31st in receptions, targets, whatever you have, but he was 7th in yards. Like, he's a very efficient receiver. He's good in Shanahan's offense. He's a great route runner. He blocks downfield, like you said. I feel like maybe he knows if he was on another team, he would get the volume that a Justin Jefferson has. And in his mind, every receiver thinks they're the best. In his mind, he would put up those Justin Jefferson stats, maybe more. So I feel like he's like, look, I can justify being that receiver and getting paid like that because if you gave me his receptions, I would make, those stats. But, and you got the people that argue, oh, you'd have more double teams, more data. So it's a whose side are you on, So I feel like part of it is just he doesn't feel, respected enough. I think that's what it's coming down to. That's the vibe I get from him. But today, the big news that you also said with Ricky Pearsall being on the NFI list, I know they're saying it's not a big injury or whatever. To me, that's a big issue. Your rookie not showing up, training camp day one. I get it. He could come back later. Maybe it's not a big issue. But I feel like this gave Brandon Aiyuk a little bit more leverage because as you mentioned, he hasn't taken a hit. So Brandon Aiyuk could say, hey, look, if this is the guy you're trying to replace me with, he's already having issues on day one. Good luck with that. So I think this did give him a little bit more leverage.
Yeah. I mean, if Pearsall can't play, and that's the question. Pearsall can run awesome routes against air. I can see that right now. The question is, what does he look like when he gets hit? Is he playing? Is he healthy? Can he, Danny Gray's taken a couple hits and he's never played. And it's like some guys just can't get on the field. Jalen Hurd was 6'5", 220. Couldn't get on the field. Couldn't get on the field. So sometimes the physicality of the game bothers guys, and they, the real players find their way to the field. Guys who don't want to play find their way off the field. So we'll see. And it's a lot of times it's about just straight out toughness. So we're going to find out about Ricky Pearsall and how tough he is. And that's my one question, because I can see he's got a nice gliding speed. He's got great in and out of his break footwork. He's got quickness for days. He's got really nice hands. You can see he works on the jugs machine, and he gets his hands out front, and he's there's a lot to like, but he's pretty slight. And this league has Chauncey Gardner-Johnson, so what's it going to be? And we don't know yet. So that's why it's all still an unknown. And that's why this whole go with Pearsall and Cowing and, get rid of Debo and Aiyuk. Well, all right. But the guys you're getting rid of are super big and strong and tough, and the guys you're bringing in are not. So let's just wait and see. 49er Hive has a great little tweet, and he says the 49ers should ask Devontae Adams, or Aiyuk should ask Devontae Adams, how prioritizing money over being on a good team is working out for him. I know Adams also went to the Raiders to play with Carr, but that ended pretty quickly, and now the poor guy looks miserable. Not saying BA shouldn't get everything he's worth, but at a certain point, you got to choose one over the other.
Yeah.
And that is true. I mean, Eric Dickerson left the Rams and went to Indianapolis, and his career died. And Devontae Adams was looking like the best receiver in football with Aaron Rodgers. He's in Green Bay. They're going to the playoffs. He's catching balls from Rodgers. Next thing I know, he's getting keyholed every week because Jimmy G is running him into strong safeties regularly, and he's winning absolutely jack shit. And he's never been to the playoffs since. And it's like he wants out, and he's like, my career is going to be shortened because of this quarterback. So, I mean, it's be careful what you wish for, but Aiyuk said it. He was asked, what's your priority? Taking care of my family. What I'm not giving any hometown discount. I don't care about the winning. I don't care about saving money for other people on my team or anything like that. This is about me. I've waited for my opportunity and I want it for myself. And there's nothing wrong with that on the surface. But now the 49ers have to decide, how are they going to respond to a prolonged holdout? And that would be my question to you guys in the chat. What do you want to see? How do you want to see the Niners handle this? Because I think it's very safe to say that Brandon Aiyuk's going to hold out. Yeah. I think when the Niners go to camp in a week with the veterans, he will not report. He's not going to show up. And the question is, what do you want John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan and Parag Marathe to do about it? You want them to move him? Or, is there a cut? Is there a date? Now what's your date? Some people said, hey, their date was like, is he going to report to camp? Okay, let's say he doesn't report to camp. Now he's not playing in the preseason. Now where it's week 1. I mean, at what point do the Niners just say, you know what? Because, I mean, everybody always assumes, Raj, that trading a player is like a for sure negative. Like that's a for sure loss. Like, oh my God, you got to trade the guy. Oh, you're going to get 2 cents on the dollar. There's no law that says that you can't make a good trade. I mean, you can make a good trade. I mean, maybe you can't. I mean, sometimes it's all dependent on what you're being offered, but I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't go into this thinking, oh man, gotta have Aiyuk. And if we don't have Aiyuk, the Super Bowl window closes and there's no way to make a good trade. And it's just, they're just going to be bad. I think if we go through team by team, I think there's a decent trade or two to be had there. What is your thought on, to me, I don't fear trading him like some people clearly do.
Yeah, I don't fear trading him. I honestly, first and foremost, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. So I know, like you mentioned, you made a great point with Devontae Adams. Sometimes money isn't everything in the NFL. And he said, I want to go back to a couple months ago, his goodbye speech or press conference, whatever it is, farewell after the season. He's sitting there wearing the glasses and he's talking to reporters. And they ask him, what's it going to take to stay in the Bay? And he goes, I want to win championships. If you're going to Washington, you ain't win championships. It's about the money. New England, Pittsburgh, the teams that he wants to go for, he ain't winning no championship. Let's be honest. If they do, fucking kudos to them. But I don't think he's winning a championship with those teams. So let's keep it a buck. He needs to stay with the Niners if he wants to be a champion, right? Like, unless the Chiefs come out of the top or the Bills or somebody, which I don't see those teams taking him. I don't fear they're going to trade him because, again, if they do, it wouldn't be till midseason. The trade window to me came during the draft. They didn't get any trade. I don't think the Niners are going to feel the heat of trying to trade him again. They have him on a 5th-year option. If he doesn't want to play, he can hold out. You're going to lose money now. It sucks for the Niners. But again, they did draft a lot. You mentioned earlier, they drafted the 2 receivers. They have a lot of wide receivers. Now, they're not Brandon Aiyuk. I get it. But they'll have to tinker their offense. Kyle Shanahan's the offensive guru, so he can figure it out. The big question to me is, how good is Ricky Pearsall going to be now? And how big is this issue that he had today? To me, that's the X factor going into this. Now, let's say we fast forward through training camp, we get to preseason, and Ricky Pearsall, let's just assume, again, this is not real. Let's say that it is a big injury and he's going to miss time. Then I think the 49ers are going to be pressured and they're going to, holy shit, we got to make sure you're okay, Brandon, because our backup plan is a little banged up. So I think that is going to be the key to all of this. How's Pearsall? And I love Cowing, but I don't think he's ready to take that step yet. I think it's going to take a little time for him. So I think it really depends on Ricky Pearsall. If they do a trade, I feel like that won't come till midseason. Now, again, I could see him holding out. I definitely don't think he's going to show up next week. I think we're going to be a training camp, and it's going to be reporters are going to be looking around. There's going to be no Aiyuk, and then the first question they ask Kyle Shanahan is, "What's up with Brandon Aiyuk?" And they're going to say what they got to say. And I think the question, which you brought up earlier, is, "Are you going to waive the fines?" And I think we're going to hear a little bit more information that they want to give us, but I don't think they're going to give us too much because again, I feel like this whole time with Aiyuk, they've been very like standoffish. They don't want to like say too much information. I feel like with the other players, they've given us a little bit more, but with Aiyuk, they've been a little bit more secretive. So to me, that tells me that I feel like they're just not close enough. They're very far apart. So we'll get a sense of how things go next week. I do think they won't. He won't report, and I think a lot hinges on Ricky Pearsall. I really do. But I think ultimately, if there's going to be a trade, that won't happen until midseason, Larry.
And they say the Pearsall thing is not serious. Invader 49er says Matt Barrows, hearing the injury that landed Ricky Pearsall on the NFI list is not considered serious. Niner rookies reported for training camp today. I don't know. I mean, I'd say, obviously, if you knew you were going to play super hardball, maybe it was probably would have been wise to be more proactive on trading him. If you replaced him in the draft, if you knew you were going to play this kind of hardball with him, maybe instead of, because now it's like, okay, you replaced him, but like you're replacing him, but you still haven't gotten any value for him, and he's sitting there, and it's a distraction, and everybody's talking about it. It just doesn't seem like this is the best way to handle this.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I'm going to share the screen. We're going to hear the little breakdown on the NFL Network here. Here it is from earlier today. This is a little NFL Network coming your way. Garofalo. This a little bigger. There we go. Move that over. Okay.
Tom, we talked about this all offseason, and there had been talk about him requesting a trade, and I made it clear at every stop along the way. There was no formal trade request from Brandon Aiyuk. Now, was he aware that other teams would be interested in trading for him if the 49ers actually opened the gates and let it happen? Now, you remember there was a recent conversation between the sides in which I'm told both sides got some things off of their chest to perhaps reset the table for another run at negotiations. Well, that didn't happen, and the Niners haven't made an offer, from my understanding, according to sources, until since May, And so Aiyuk at this point, with training camp about to start, feeling frustrated, says, "You know what? I want to trade then. We had plenty of time to get something done. We're not getting it done. So here we are. Formally, a trade request from Brandon Aiyuk. We shall see if the Niners honor that. Like you mentioned, they've had these situations before and felt like they've been able to manage them to the point of getting something done in the end."
Well, there you go. And the thing about that is it makes you sit there and go, well, is this worth? This is supposed to be your, inside your Super Bowl window. Are you going to let this drama kind of run your franchise for all summer? I mean, I think if I'm the 49ers, I'm at least privately gauging what I can get. And, and it's you don't know what you have in Debo this year. You don't know what you have long-term in Pearsall or Cowing. Brandon's a really good player, but to me, I have to find out what his market is. We'll at least find out what I'm being offered, because the bottom line for me, it's like he's dynamic, right? So you got to have a dynamic piece coming back. If you trade him, you got to get something dynamic. But you're also so loaded at wide receiver, and you have other needs. I'll give you an idea. Like, okay, so I'm looking at an article right now, and it's going through the teams. Okay, 6 Brandon Aiyuk suitors. And the first one is New England. And, New England's got Christian Gonzalez, who's a good corner. They have Demario Douglas, who's a little receiver who had a nice rookie year. I'd take that. Give me Demario Douglas and Christian Gonzalez and a conditional day 3 pick. No?
No, that doesn't tickle my fancy, Larry. No.
It's a starting corner. It's a starting caliber corner and a good. and a good young receiver in Demario Douglas.
He won't start on the Niners.
You don't think Christian Gonzalez would start on the Niners? I think he would.
No,
Well,
not over Mooney Ward and Diamond Lenore. Maybe
yeah, but who's the third corner for the Niners? I mean, we don't even know who it's going to be.
Probably Renardo Green, but maybe nickel.
I
you
think
he wants to play nickel?
I think Christian would start over Renardo Green,
but
we'll see. We'll see. I mean, it's debatable. Okay, the other team are the Commanders. Now, to me, the Commander price has got to be even higher. They have $36 million in cap room, and he's basically put them down as where he wants to be. They've got all kinds of guys. I mean, they got Terry McLaurin, they got Jahan Dotson, they've got McCaffrey's brother, they've got Jonathan Allen, they've got Emmanuel Forbes. If you wanted to go that route, I mean, they got all kinds of players that could interest the 49ers. Does that excite you? And what do you want from the Commanders?
I think Washington makes the most sense. I think it would make Brandon Aiyuk happy. You don't want to leave on sour grapes. You want to do good.
And it can't be for picks, so you can't. No. The only thing about this is like the only way this works. I agree that the timing's wrong on this. That's why it has to be. There can be a pick involved, but there has to be a player involved. Otherwise, it makes no sense.
Yeah. You can't just get nothing for him in terms of just picks, because if you were going to get picks, it would have had to be during the draft. That's why I feel like no trade happened, because they didn't get what they felt was enough compensation. Like, I think that was the issue. They didn't get what they wanted because Washington wanted them, and the Niners were like, we don't like what you're giving us at that time. So Washington makes sense. BA wants to go there. It's a mutual pairing. You make him happy. You get they got good players. I think that we can get in return that you can do good business with your former assistant GM. You got Adam Peters. I think that makes a lot of sense. Peters, he knows Aiyuk. He knows the Niners. He would help us, take care of us. Don't give us a shitty deal. I feel like they'd give us something good in return. They got decent players there, better than decent, honestly. Some really good players that we can get from them. So I think of all the teams, I know there's a lot of other ones that you're going to mention. I think Washington makes the most sense. Terry McLaurin, maybe get him. You can pry him from their hands. I don't know if they'd give him up. Dotson, that's the other guy. So we'll see. Now, I don't know. I feel like this whole situation, again, the Niners, they offered him what they offered him. They didn't offer more than that, and Aiyuk's just getting impatient. I feel like Aiyuk, with the Niners, he's the one player right now that's just irritated with this team. Other players have been, but you can just see the way this has kind of gone. Like, Brandon Aiyuk just feels so disrespected that he's like, to hell with it. Just, if you don't want to give me my money, get me out of here. He deserves to pay. In his mind, like I said, Devonta Smith, you can't pay me less than him. Jalen Waddle, you can't pay me less than him. So that's where his head's at. He wants the Amon-Ra money, but the Niners, they're like, well, you're not worth it to us right now. So I think ultimately both sides will come to a head, because again, the Niners, as I mentioned earlier, they wait till the last freaking second sometimes. But ultimately, I do like Washington as a trade destination if they're going to get it done.
It's interesting. They're listing these 6 teams, and there's 6 teams. They got New England, which makes a lot of sense because New England has just terrible receivers. And it makes sense for the Niners too, because in a way, that's almost like banishment right there. I mean, he's never going to play in the playoffs for a long time, and cold weather, other conference, no playoffs. That's as banished gets. Commanders, that would be, very risky because you're putting Aiyuk with Jaden Daniels. And if they didn't move him, Terry McLaurin, they would have McLaurin and Aiyuk. So that would be as good a receiving tandem. The Steelers are on this list. And, I don't know what, here we go. A guy in the chat says Joe East is BA to Pittsburgh for Minkah Fitzpatrick and Nick Herbig. I mean, I would do that in a heartbeat.
Go give me Minkah. Give me Minkah.
Give me Herbig too.
Would they give us? Pittsburgh's not giving up Minkah.
No.
I need it.
I don't know. I don't know what I'd want from Pittsburgh. And they have Darnell Washington. I mean, to me, Pittsburgh doesn't really have a fit.
They don't have much.
Then it says Arizona. And come on, if the Niners are going to trade Aiyuk to Arizona, they would have to get you're trading him in the division. Come on, man. You're not trading him.
That's not happening. We ain't trading in the division unless you get Marvin Harrison Jr. Ain't happening.
Yeah, I mean, they got Marvin Harrison Jr. That's their other receiver. So you'd be giving a team that already has Marvin Harrison Jr. Aiyuk. I mean, that would put a lot of pressure on the 49ers. But I'm trying to think, what would I want back from Arizona? What would you want from Arizona? I think I'd probably want maybe Buda Baker, Max Melton.
Maybe.
I got to get a receiver.
You don't
Right?
have much other than Marvin. You're only going to get
maybe Michael Wilson, the former Stanford receiver.
I mean, they're not going to trade you Marvin Harrison. That's all I really want out.
Yeah, they're not giving you Marvin Harrison.
Yeah.
So that's a tough one. Might be able to get a couple pieces on defense. Darius Robinson, Max Melton, Buda Baker.
You'd probably get defensive players if you trade with the Cardinals. That's the way I see it.
Yeah, but I mean, I'm not in a rush to do that. Then they got the Chargers on this list. Now, the Chargers are intriguing because the Chargers need Aiyuk. I mean, if there's one team out there that absolutely needs Aiyuk, the Chargers receivers are Quentin Johnson, Ladd McConkey, and Josh Palmer. They also have Brendan Rice, Darius Davis, and DJ Chark. But talk about a team that needs a receiver. My God, it's them.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I mean, I'll take Ladd McConkey, but it ain't straight up.
No, you got to get more out of that. Maybe
you got to get more than Ladd McConkey.
They got some good defensive players, but again, that's why I said Washington. Out of all these teams, that's the only team that I feel like has a decent enough package.
Then there's the Jets. It says, how about the Jets? Don't forget the Jets. The Jets are interesting because they've got Rodgers, and they also have Garrett Wilson. But there's a lot of talk that Rodgers wants to reunite with. Oh, wait a second. Oh, hold on.
We got breaking news there?
Hold on a second. I've got a tab open that's making noise.
Oh.
And I can't find it. Where is it? There it is. All right, it's gone. Sorry about that. There was a tab open in the back that was making noise, and it was bleeding through. Yeah, I mean, the other team is the Jet. They list here as the Jets. And now the Jets don't have a lot. They probably want Devontae Adams. But, I mean, if you could do something with the Jets and Raiders and get Michael Mayer and maybe a defensive end from the Jets or something like that, would you do that?
Yeah, I saw your little three-way track.
It's a three-way.
Yeah, pause. You're helping them more than you help the Niners, I feel like.
Well, the Jets would get Devontae, the Raiders would get Aiyuk, and the Niners would get whatever. A young player. I mean, I was thinking Michael Mayer, the tight end from Notre Dame, from the Raiders, and some player from the Jets plus picks. So you'd wind up getting like 2 players and 2 picks. Might not be bad.
I mean, yeah, you get, but it's quality over quantity for me. At that point, you might get some decent players, but I don't know.
You're giving Aiyuk.
I mean, at that point, you just have to value the player, and if you don't value him at $30 million, then trade him and get what you can. So and that's what I'm saying. If it gets to the point where they're not going to agree on something, then in that situation, I wouldn't hate it. I mean, you're losing a good player, but you're getting decent value back. I feel like as long as you're getting a pretty good value back, you got to do it. If it gets to that point where it's they're not going to play, because you got to also think about the coaching staff. Will they, they're going to feel a certain way, the locker room. There's a lot of things that you got to think about. If Brandon Aiyuk does this and everybody's pissed off in the locker room, you might as well, you might need to get rid of him. But I feel like with all the other years that this has happened, right, there's been drama every year, right? You had Bosa, Kittle, Warner, Debo, all these guys, they got their money. But the players always say, well, I want them to get paid. Let them handle their business. I feel like they try not to talk about the other players' business. George Kittle has said it. He goes, I'm not going to talk about his money. That's on him. We hope he gets taken care of. All the players say that. That's his money. We're not going to pocket watch him. We hope he gets signed and he comes back. But, in the back of their mind, there might be a little, dissension among the troops. But I don't think ultimately there will be.
All right. Juwan Jennings went on his Instagram and he put out this line. You got to be a different type of person to act like you're doing everything by yourself, knowing dang well you not. Who's that aimed towards?
I don't think it's Aiyuk because I saw that everybody's freaking out. Now, if you little investigation I've done, so I looked at
Yeah,
that post.
this, by the way, I'm glad that we have Raj here. He has a doctorate in this, basically.
A doctor
ahead,
of social media. Yeah, I'm a social media. So
we go to Dr. Raj, our social media expert. Yes,
yeah,
Doc.
so
What can
I
we
don't.
read into that?
I don't think it's. I know a lot of people are like, "Oh my God, he's shading Brandon Ayuk." I don't because he posted this. If you look at the timestamp, basically like around like 6:45, 6:50 a.m. Pacific our time. Like West Coast time is like 6 before 7 a.m. even hit. The trade didn't even, or the trade request was like 10 a.m. It was like 10 a.m. Pacific time. So this was like 3 hours before Brandon Ayuk news happened. So I feel like this might be some personal issue. You got to remember, there's personal things that these guys post, and they post these things. There might be some drama, love life drama, baby mama drama. I don't know. That's the way I look at it. Like I feel like there's something else going on. It's not always related to football because the reason I say this, Debo Samuel posted something on his Instagram earlier today, and let me pull up this post because everybody was hating on Jennings. I can't believe he's saying that he's a dog. Why is he throwing out shade to BA? Or oh my God, there's turmoil in the locker room. Now Debo, he made a slide post, and on his slide, there's a specific message that says, "Remember who stood by your side as you rebuilt yourself. Those are your people." So then everybody was losing. Oh my God, Debo, he's calling out Brandon Ayuk. Oh my God. So then he goes to his Twitter to clarify nothing on my post on my IG slide has anything to do with my brother Ayuk. Y'all folks need to chill. So, Larry, you need to chill. That's what I'm going to tell you. I don't think Brandon Ayuk, or sorry, Juwan Jennings is taking shots at Brandon Ayuk. I don't.
Rob says, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Maybe I'm wrong.
Adrian Gutierrez says Jennings is telling it like it is.
Okay.
49er Talk Show says, bro, he was talking Aiyuk. Stop the cap and BS.
No, he wasn't.
Look at that. Stop the cap.
I'm compromised.
Man, now they're coming after you.
I know. It's okay. Hey, we all have different takes.
This is a man with hundreds of thousands of Instagram followers, ladies and gentlemen.
I just know when Aiyuk, when he gets that notification when the contract drops, and Juwan Jennings posts something on his social media, and we're like, oh, BA and Jennings, oh, cool. And there's gonna be like a respect post. Remember, I told you all that's happening.
Adrian Gutierrez, the writing is on the wall. Raj, you have to read the writing.
Okay, the writing's okay.
Adrian's going back to the ancient Sumerians, who also, they wrote things on the walls, and we deciphered it generations later. This may be different writing on the wall that he's referring to. Maybe a little different, maybe the same as the ancient Sumerians, but my guess is it's a little bit different. Invader 49er. We'll pay him $14 million this year and tag him at $25 million next year. Yeah. 49er Talk Show's coming high and hard right here. Raj is compromised.
I might be.
Raj does have Lynch and Kittle under the Raj umbrella, so he might have. Are you compromised, Raj? I've never thought of you as compromised in any previous streams.
No, I'm not compromised at all.
I don't think so either.
That's honestly, man, that's the way I don't think it has anything.
So when he says you got to be a different type of person to act like you doing everything by yourself, knowing dang well you not.
You're talking about a female, man. He's talking about females, Larry.
Okay.
You got to be a different type of person to act like you're doing everything by yourself.
You pretended you loaded the dishwasher, but I dried off those dishes and put them back in the cabinet.
You acting like you took care of the kids this weekend. It was all me, baby girl.
You went into the dryer, but I put the stuff from the washer to the dryer.
Facts, Larry.
Okay. So I'm doing my part up in this beast. All right.
I don't care. Digital Drew. I love it, man. Give me the 8.
Niner Len, BA to the Chargers where he can ball out. Show he's not just getting enough targets like the other top wide receivers. Oh, look at that. Look at this. Now people are saying that Raj is likely North African and probably descended from a king. Have some damn respect.
Yes, sir. King Raj.
Yes,
Actually,
King Joffrey Joffamundo or whatever from Coming to America.
actually, if you
Remember
my
that?
name, yeah, I do. I remember. I'm not gonna. That's one
Great
of my favorite
movie.
movies.
Classic
It's a great
movie.
movie. Classic. My
They
name
have
Raj.
they have the sesame seed bun. Our bun is seedless.
That's a good one.
McDowell's. Welcome to McDowell's. Yeah, they're
McDowell's, that's right.
McDonald's. They're the Golden Arches. We're the Golden Arcs. Remember that? That was a
Yeah.
classic.
That's a good movie.
Classic
That's a
movie.
great one.
Classic movie.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Soul
That's
Glow. He had the whole deal.
Soul Glow.
Soul Glow. And it stained the back of the couch when the guy
Yeah.
leaned
You
forward.
got the big stain on the back. Yeah.
Oh, Digital Drew's throwing you a lifeline here. He says, Raj is a good dude. Forget the haters, Raj. Wait, what are we talking about? Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
There you go. There you go. The Jedi says exactly, Raj.
Exactly. We're on the same page.
Oh, wait a second. 49er Talk Show's calling you out. Raj is scared to speak up because these 49er players follow him.
No, I speak up. They
Is that
always-
true, Raj? Are you fearful of retribution from said Kittle?
No, because they call me out if I say anything. They say something on my Instagram. They're like, "Yo, I don't care if
They go after you
know,
on Instagram.
Yeah, you know, at the end of the day, they know I got to keep it 100. They respect it. But if there's any, like, if I've ever posted it, here's the thing: if I've ever posted something and it's like wrong or not their view on it, they'll message me and say, "Hey, look, this is not what I thought." So they're cool.
The Smitty says Aiyuk to the Pats for Judon and picks. I want more than Judon and picks.
Judon and picks, stop it.
I don't like Judon and picks. Jay Tan says since New England wants Brandon, what could they offer? I just said, I mean, Christian Gonzalez, Demario Douglas. That's what I would do. The Smitty says Aiyuk to Denver for Surtain. I would, you know, if you said, okay, make a deal for Aiyuk that makes the Niners better, that you actually think could be a deal they could make, I would probably say Aiyuk to Denver, maybe with like Ambry for a receiver and Surtain. Marvin Mims. I'll take Marvin Mims because he's fast. I'd take Sutton because he's big. But I mean, take just a receiver and Surtain. You get a number one corner and a receiver. You move Ambry, a corner that's not going to make your team anyway if you get this number one corner. What do you think? Surtain and Marvin Mims for Aiyuk. Would you do it? I would do it.
Yeah, dude. Yeah, that right there. I know you said Gonzalez, and I was like not high on him as far as cornerback. You give me Surtain. Now you're secondary. Now you can put Lenore on that slot. Woo, we cooking on that one.
Yeah,
we're cooking on that.
Kenny 49ers says Coming to America is a masterpiece. Thank you.
It is.
Yes, it is.
So
Epic.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. I mean, Coming to America. You know, I mean, just he's like, hey, can you stay up in my place? It's too fancy. Can I stay in your place? He's like, is your place not? I don't want it to be too nice. He's like, no, man, it's a shithole.
Yeah,
you're gonna love it. And he gives him the key, and he's got like his place has got like a hot tub.
It's like so nice, and he's
it's like neon lights. The other guy's place is like rats running around.
It's like so disgusting.
Yeah, the guy's like, "Good morning." Everybody's like, "Shut up."
Morning.
Shut up.
Honestly, I gotta watch that. I haven't watched it in a while. It's been a long time. I gotta get.
Oh, the late Louis Anderson was in that. Oh, he's just some amazing
cats. Good stuff, man.
Good stuff. We got this one from YouTube user Raj and Krug. Who's your favorite player on offense and defense? Current 49er players.
Current.
Well, my favorite defensive player for sure is Dre Greenlaw. I just love watching Greenlaw. He'll just destroy. He seeks and destroys. He loves the violence. I love watching him hit. He's definitely my favorite defensive player. Offensive player. Probably Debo for me. I like Debo.
Yeah, he's good, man. Debo is one of those. He's just such a tone
Maybe
setter.
Aiyuk or Debo. Definitely.
For me, offensively, CMC, man. The guy, he's unbelievable. The guy's so good. He's so good. That's the running back we've needed in Kyle Shanahan's offense. He's just so fucking good. He does it all. Like, I've loved this guy when he was since Stanford, and I was just I always imagined him being a Niner. When he got on the team, I was like floored, and I just still can't believe he's on the team. And on defense, It's a tough one. It's a close one. It's a close one. I got Fred Warner, man. I love Warner. Such a good leader. He's just ever since his rookie year, man. He's gotten better and better and better. He's such a true, like dog in that defense. I love Fred Warner. Number 2 is probably Bosa, man. I love Nick Bosa. He's a dog.
I'll tell you who I'm starting to be a major fan of is Jair Brown.
He looks.
How do you
good.
not love Jair Brown? He comes away with interceptions. He hits like a truck. Great kid. I love talking to him in the locker room as far as he's got a great perspective. He works hard. He lives for the process of football. The guy loves to watch film. Artur Gazarian says, I would trade Aiyuk for a great run stuffing defensive tackle all day, every day. We need a great defensive tackle. Well, how about that? How about Aiyuk to the Commanders for Jonathan Allen and any receiver?
Yeah, we talked about that
if
before.
I could get Jonathan Allen, I would take Aiyuk. I would take McCaffrey's brother. I would take Jahan Dotson. Obviously, we would take Terry McLaurin, but
yeah,
I would take any of their other receivers if I could get Jonathan Allen.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned that you brought that up a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
People were mad at us, and I think I like that. I was like, yeah, I wouldn't mind it. Allen's a dog. This defensive line has been through a lot of change, a lot of makeovers over the last couple of years. I think he would definitely help this team, especially after losing, like over the last couple of years. We lost Armstead and DJ Jones, and I think that would and Buckner. I think that would definitely help us out, getting a nice run stuffing defensive lineman, because what couldn't we stop in the playoffs last year? The run. So yeah, absolutely be good.
Some Invader 49er. I want Quentin Williams. Yeah,
Ooh.
I'm sure the Jets are going to trade him.
Speaking of
Gilbert
stuff,
Rivera says, I want Troy Fatanu. That's a Steeler. I don't think they're moving him anytime soon.
Nice.
Yeah, I don't see those guys going anywhere. YouTube user says, I grew up near BYU. I loved watching Fred Warner at BYU.
Yeah.
And he's so much better now. I mean, it's unbelievable. So Raj, we'll hit a couple of these supers. We got a couple supers, and then we'll call it a night. We're almost an hour in. We're just going to go brief tonight. But Vincent Talley says, thoughts on Juwan Jennings' IG story seems like a reference to Aiyuk. Raj has assured us it is not.
Everybody, so real quick, I know someone in the comments, I think it was Arthur, said, look, that players sometimes know about trades. Sometimes players aren't told anything. Like Diamaro Lenore today was on the Rich Eisen show.
I saw that.
And the news dropped while he was on the show. Like, so.
He's like, no, man, really?
Yeah, and they're training. They don't always know everything that's going on. So I'm going to tell you this. To me, I don't think Jennings is referencing BA, but I could be very wrong.
YouTube user drops this one. He says, Mad Dog said we don't need BA. I kind of agree. It's easy to say that from afar. If you told me that Ricky Pearsall and Jacob Cowing were going to be studs, yeah, fine. But if not, then no.
You can't guarantee that.
Yeah, who can guarantee that? Joe E says starting wide receiver lineup week 1. I'll say it is Debo and Jahan Dotson.
Crazy. Debo and Aiyuk, man.
All right.
It's crazy.
Debo and Jahan Dotson.
Okay.
Watch it happen.
Wow.
I have sources. No, I don't. No sources.
Okay. If
Blood
you get
Moon.
this right, Larry,
My source is Blood Moon.
Yeah.
But even my guesses are pretty good. I mean, come on. You guys got it. Yeah, I'm pretty dialed. Blood Moon says BA needs to talk with Adams and see how chasing the bag works. Adams wants out. Imagine Slick Rick explodes on the scene. Soul glow. Laughing emoji. Yes, Blood Moon. Another guy, another fan of Coming to America. Raj, you got a final thought before we bolt for the door? What do you got cooking the rest of the week? I know that we're starting to beat the heat over here. Nice night tonight, like in the high 60s, low 70s. Beautiful night in the creek.
I got a lot of NCAA 2025. That's what we got going this week.
Nice, a little video game action.
Yeah, I used to. That was like my game back in the day. I haven't played video games in a long time, right? So I ended up getting a new console just so I could play NCAA. Man, I'm hyped up. So,
dude, be careful for that carpal tunnel.
I know. I'm a PT. I can fix it. We'll be good.
That's right. Yes, I gave myself terrible cramps, but I cured myself because I am the guy who can handle serious cramps. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to Pig and a Pickle. Check them out, Emeryville, Corte Madera. They're open 7 days a week in both spots from 11 a.m. till 8 p.m. Get the brisket chili. Thanks to Underdog Fantasy. Check the link in the description. Use the promo code Krug. And thanks to Sharp Corners, Sports Cards, and Collectibles. For Raj, I'm Larry. Have a great night. Aiyuk is still a Niner for now.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly